Let's go into our next presentation, and that comes from Mr. Sheldon Powe, who is the founder and CEO of Innovate 10X, a leading digital transformation firm. Over 30 years in information technology and operations management. His experience includes digital strategy and transformation, acquisitions and mergers, software development, quality assurance and operations, that's in inventory, manufacturing, warehousing. He also reviews and streamlines. And let me tell you, Sheldon was instrumental in building out the growth of JMB between 1997, where he started as the software development manager and rose to group chief information officer until he left to start Innovate 10X in 2018. Sheldon has a passion for helping others succeed, and he believes in making a difference by actively serving. This is demonstrated by him being an active member of the Jamaica New Economy Digital Task Force in charge of the Go Digital for MSMEs initiative. If you've ever heard him speak, you know he has a whole lot of passion behind him. He serves as chairman of JMB's RS Pension Board. He's past president and current director of the Jamaica Digital Technology Alliance and a director in eGov Jamaica and Star Apple AI. Let's welcome Sheldon Powe to the virtual stage as he explores emerging opportunities in the Internet of Things.
Good afternoon. Thanks for that introduction. You see my gray hairs, that's why I've been able to accomplish so much. I have right here with me my partner, Kamara, who's a lab engineer at Innovate 10X. And I'm very grateful to tTech to allow me the opportunity to present on the opportunities with IoT. Yes, it's one of those areas where you really need to hop on board. I will be giving you a little bit of a PowerPoint, and I have Kamara here. We'll like to give you, we have some IoT devices here that we'll be actually sharing with you, so you can actually, can't touch them, but you can come to 10X and you can touch and feel them, but you kind of demonstrate how they actually work. Okay, Khalil said enough about Innovate 10X, but we are a digital transformation firm, a little bit under 4 years old. We actually, our lab is IoT smart. We have a smart building in that we can control our light switches, our outlets, our air conditions through the IoT devices that I'll be telling you about today. We do quite a bit of innovation consulting, research and development for quite a number of companies in Jamaica, both the financial companies, manufacturing and distribution. Okay, so what is IoT? The Internet of Things. So this is where everyday things, appliances, persons, or spaces are connected with sensors that are then connected to a gateway, which then goes onto some kind of a cloud setting, right? I say spaces because you made us want to know, for example, how much people are occupying a particular space, right? Appliances, you might already, but in another 3 years, I don't think you'll buy a fridge without it being smart, because it'll stop manufacturing fridges that are not smart. And same way, you cannot, but you have to go, probably buy a TV that is about 5 years old for it not to be smart anymore. But that is where the technology is going when it comes to sensors. Why should you care? Well, right now the size of the market in 2021 is $384 billion US, and it's predicted by 2030 it's going to be over $2 trillion. All right, let me let that sink in. That's in the next 8 years. It's going to be growing basically close to ninefold. So really and truly, there's opportunities for everybody to get on board. Just a little bit of technical in how the structure works. So the domain will have to represent the things that you want to be monitoring, right? To be controlling, to be programming. Whether it's your home, your vehicle, your office, retail, industry, or medical, you have different but the protocols you'd understand. It could be over cellular, Wi-Fi, near field communication. Everybody knows Bluetooth, Z-Wave, and Zigbee. Very interesting, because sometimes at home you may want not to competing with your Wi-Fi when you're doing business online or whatever. So instead of going through Wi-Fi for your device at home, you might use Zigbee or Z-Wave as the protocols that you use. RFID, well-known radio frequency identification system, TCP/IP, right? The type of sensors, right? Light sensors, heat ventilation, AC control, magnetic sensors, seismic sensors. These are vibration sensors if you want to detect earthquake, or you have equipment that maybe have a equipment that's a manufacturing piece of equipment that the bearings are going bad. It might sense it's vibrating incorrectly and can send off a warning to you. Imaging is in visual images, visual images, thermal energy management, acoustic, sound, chemical as well. If you want to measure for some kind of pollution, you can have chemical sensors that can turn that into a digital signal to give an alert if some chemical thing is off. Water as well, maybe have certain places you want to detect humidity, or you want to detect leakages, very sensitive places that you want to have these sensors. There are location sensors as well. I have location sensors in my house right now. I can check. I have an entertainment room. Nobody should be in the house, right? I'm in that room right now. I can check on my phone and see if there's anybody actually in the room. This is an example. Health tech is huge right now. As you know, there are a lot of outpatients. Hospitals are full, but doctors can be monitoring their patients while they're at home by the use of IoT, identity management. And of course, as I said, you're measuring these things, which could be animals, people, spaces, and you're controlling them, and you're programming them. Programming them meaning you're writing if-then statements. Like, for example, if nobody is in the room and maybe 15 minutes has passed, turn off the air conditioner. This is simple things like that. Very easy to program. Industry 4.0, you'd have heard about that. That's industrial revolution that's happening now. It's more catering to the manufacturing sector. Now, there are a few manufacturers I know, Wysinco being one, that they would have a few of their practices or their manufacturing lines being smart, meaning that now they're able to control the production of the equipment remotely. They can be monitoring very accurately how long has a machine been operating. They will understand the mean time to failure. So therefore, based on the time the machine is running, the sensor will be telling you that, look, you're on a danger zone. You can only run one more production shift. Then you should take it down, do your servicing, things like that. Of course, it's kind of measuring the temperature and pressure in real time. What people have to do in a factory typically is have engineers walk in the factory on a daily basis and doing inspection physically. Now, instead of them having to do that, especially on a large factory, they can be getting alerts on their phone so they know which machine to go to ahead of time, things like that for Industry 4.0. And of course, the whole thing about quality management, preventive maintenance, improving production yields and so forth in using Industry 4.0 technologies. Right, so we spoke about the industrial side of IoT and a little bit about the consumer side. I mean, there's some of that. That's where a lot of the fun stuff kind of comes in. I mean, of course, I have my smart watch on. I mean, everybody probably had something that's smart. Yes, your phone is smart as well. Right, your phone is smart. It's allowed people like myself who are not professionals in taking pictures to take very professional pictures. This is where, because it's using the AI as well. IoT and AI works well together. The sensors are picking up what you're looking at, what you're trying to take a picture of, right? Whether what's the lighting looking at, is feeding that back into the AI, and the AI working with the IoT is making you take that perfect picture. So some of the popular stuff on the consumer side, the fitness trackers and wearables, huge industry. I mean, some of us are creating our own wearable applications, and that's good. There's a huge market for that. Everybody loves Jamaica, so let us see more apps coming out of Jamaica. The smart appliances, as I said, you may not have bought your first smart stove, but you might say, why do I need a smart stove? Well, I'll give you a scenario. I mean, like, for example, you're cooking. Maybe you're cooking something that it's gonna take a while to cook. It's not like an hour, and you may have gotten a call to just go and pick up somebody murdered and say you might have left the stove on, and it's when it dawns on you, instead of rushing home, you like to be able to pick up your phone, see that the stove, yes, it was left on, and you can actually just turn it off remotely, right? Those things control. Or you could say, you could have programmed it and said, look, after half an hour, turn on the fire, and then after another 15 minutes, then turn it off. Things of that nature. Personal home security, that's big. Alarm system, smart doorbells. I have a smart doorbell at home. My house, as I said, is smart, so I can see when people come. Buzz my gate doorbell. I can, if I want to let them in, I can open the my gate remotely as well. Voice powered technology is working quite well. Siri, Alexa, Google. Again, these things need to be programmed. So a lot of opportunities to program your services to work with Alexa, and it actually does work because it understands the context in which you're having that conversation and requesting a service to get something done. Mention everyday devices in terms of like temperature checkers, the doorbells, and so forth. There's so many things right now that are becoming smart. The real estate industry, that's big. You'll find now that fortunately there have been a few real estate developers that have looked to 10X to help them with doing some research in terms of how do they make the buildings actually smart. So just putting in like the full suite of controlling, whether it's the curtains to make the curtains over, light settings, as to you might have your favorite ambience in terms of different colors or music and so forth you want at a particular time and so forth. The smart cities in terms of waste management, water management, electric management. I know JPS has a huge project going on in Kingston right now. Energy management is huge. We have energy management that Kamara will actually show you, where you can be measuring down to your different devices, in real time to really get an idea of where your consumption is coming from. I mentioned the healthcare already. That is just a huge area for entrepreneurs to get into. Remember, this is coming to be $1 trillion US market, and I think this is one industry that have actually been underestimating, actually, because I've been watching IoT for about 4 to 5 years now, and they did predict that it would have been billions of devices, but really and truly, it's gonna be. I see it going into the trillions because any and everything will just be connected, and the reason for that is the price is coming down significantly. Right, the price of IoT. If you're doing like a 2-bedroom apartment, would probably run you you're controlling the AC or the light switches, the outlets, would probably run you about without installation, maybe about 1,200 US. It's worth your while. Retail in terms of store cameras being connected, watching people. Shouldn't watching, but actually monitoring as people go through your aisles, see what they're doing, sending specials to their phones, and so forth. Working the IoT and the AI together. Okay, downside of IoT is opportunities for us as well. So big thing is security, of course. Yes, there's a lot of cyber warfare that's taking place that is very effective, and those who are and who will and many are getting connected. A lot of industrial equipment are being connected. Right, it needs proper security. tTech, big security firm. I'm sure that's the area that they can look into in terms of making sure that your IoT, whether for your commercial or retail or home, is actually secure. There are different layers of security, of course, that you have to put in there. Privacy and data protection is still applicable. A lot of the time, I mentioned you monitoring people in the supermarket. You have to make sure it's not personal have permission to how you use the data to benefit the customer. And if you're using it to make money from, then for sure you have to also get their permission for that. If there are devices with defects as well, it hackers for sure will find a way to be causing havoc on your fridge. The fridge can actually pick up what's actually inside. It might actually know that, for example, through cameras or whatever, that what you need to order. You don't want hacker placing orders on your behalf. You come home and you see a new grocery bill, and you're wondering what happened there. So there's a huge opportunity when it comes to security. Okay, IoT in practice. I'll now turn over to you, Kumar, to know, instead of PowerPoint, you can show some actual devices, please.
All right. Thank you, Sheldon. All right. So basically, we have multiple smart locks. You have different brands, different types, but the ones that we have here at 10X, it supports multiple functionalities where you can use your fingerprint here and the passcodes. And for emergency cases where if the battery dies on you, you can use the physical key.
Still have a key.
You can't get rid of that. So basically, you can use the app as well. So once you sign into the app and you configure the lock, you can stay anywhere in the world and actually send a code remotely to the lock so that you can have somebody enter. So if it's your niece or nephew that's coming over and you're already on the road, you can just shoot them a WhatsApp. Say this is your code to go in. So you can let it be a one-time passcode. So once they enter it, it disables automatically. Or you can set a password for them for a specific time frame that they will be there for. And once they leave, or once that time frame reaches the end, then that passcode gets expired and it's no longer usable. So basically, that there is added security. So just to add a bit of security, then we have IoT gateways, which would more likely take extra security of your devices. So that it's not just connected directly to your wireless network. So this is like a extra firewall that would a hacker or any other person who is trying to do malicious intents would have to go through to reach your devices. Next, we would go to your IoT switches. They look just basically like a same little switch that you have in the wall, but with this functionality, you could automate your home to turn on the lights at a specific time. So those fluorescent things that you would have normally outside, and when rain get into it, it spoil and it damage and all of that. So you could just put a timer on your switches to have chipping out.
Are you guys hearing me?
Are you guys hearing us? No, it's clear. Okay. All right. So basically, you have the IoT switches, which you could just put a timer on it. So at a specific time of the day, you will have the light turn on itself. You don't have to worry about the fluorescent.
Let me say something. When I was doing, my house is about 20 years old, so I had to retrofit it. The panel where the light switch going, it was not deep enough for IoT switch. So actually, yes, I had to do a little bit of masonry work to get it into work properly. But it actually looks, it kind of modernized. My house is not intrusive. Like, you wouldn't come in and know that it's smart, right? But because it has this little brain at the end, it can be connected to the internet.
Yes. So basically, I know that this helps Sheldon a lot based on his kids always leaving on the lights and different stuff in the house. So that JPS is one of our biggest enemy right now with those high energy bills. So basically, you can utilize this to help you to track your energy consumption and also help you to save more while you're utilizing the devices in the house. So next, we have the smart doorbell. So with this, Sheldon mentioned he could see and talk to persons before letting them in his property. So most of the times, Sheldon is actually on the road and a person wants to speak, a person wants to actually come in to the property. Sheldon could actually speak to them directly from this device two-way conversation, and then after which he can just buzz his gate, and the gate will open and let them into the property. And because he has a smart lock, he could also give them a temporary code to enter his house and carry out whatsoever business they need to do.
That's correct.
Use
it all the time.
Yeah, it's something that he praises.
Especially when the mail pack comes with a delivery for me.
Yes. Next, we have our switch. It looks like a regular plug that you plug into the wall. You could actually set timers and also use it to track the energy consumption that maybe a fridge is plugged into one port. So you could actually monitor that port the fridge is utilizing to say, all right, and the fridge is burning 1 kilowatt hour or 2 kilowatt hours per month or whatsoever it is. So with this, it helps you monitor and actually kind of breaks down the entire usage that you're utilizing, and also enable you to take control of how you're utilizing the devices and appliances in your home. Here we have energy monitoring device, which, let me take it out of the packaging. So it is this small, yay small. You put it in your breaker panel, which would then connect to your, not really your circuit, but it would then monitor how much energy it's coming.
And that's your existing breaker panel. I said my house is a little bit over 20 years old, and we placed this. I didn't have to change my panel, changing breakers expensive. I installed this in my panels. I know my panels are now smart, right? That's a big thing of why this industry is growing. The thought about that the value proposition should not be that you have to go and change and buy a smart air conditioner, right? Or a smart TV. Even call it dumb appliances can be made smart by how they connect these devices onto the old appliances to make them smart.
Yes. So basically right now we can track down to each AC inside the Sheldon's house or inside this building that we're currently in. So
for power consumption.
We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yes.
Okay.
People counter.
So we have a next solution called a people counter. Let me see if I can just quickly switch over.
I have to share.
I have to share screen. I don't think it's on this screen. All right, so
let's talk about it.
All right, so basically with the people counter, persons are able to utilize the data. Persons are able to utilize the data to in the banking industry, in the banking industry. All right, here we have. I'm not sure if you're seeing our screen.
Not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing our screen. We have a pilot that is now at crew, where in the pre-pandemic, the crew was kind of overcrowded and the security wasn't sure of how many persons are in the building at a given time, and if you might do it. Share your screen if needed. Persons weren't sure if how many persons are actually in the building at any given time. And also, the managers had a concern of the spend per person. So with the information that it's on the second screen. Sorry. All right, I'm bringing it over. So here it's just giving you a bit of data where you can track how many persons are in it. So at the moment, there are only 15 persons. So they set the limit to 150 persons while we were in the pandemic. And also...
This is like 100% accurate as well. I mean, you don't care how many people entering, 10 people entering at the same time. It's a very accurate counting. Unbelievable.
All right. So basically, it tracks your footfall and how many persons are coming in during a 15-minute time period, which you can utilize that data for maybe how long a person actually spends inside your business, maybe a banking hall or in your store or anything like that. And for the restaurant purpose, they use it to track the per spend per person, because most of the times when you go out, let's say it's 2 or 3 persons are there, sometimes it's only one person who is actually doing the spending.
Right.
So whenever they're doing up
it has the historical data as well. So if you want to compare this Saturday compared to last Saturday, or this time period last year compared to this year, IoT generates a lot of data, and that's why I usually store it on the cloud, whereas more like call it infinite storage. And then there's a lot of data analytics you can then put on it. I mean, eventually as well, people might put this on their website. You might see, is the restaurant full? They can actually show in real time as to how many people are actually there. I think we're in question and answers. So let me just break and see if there are any questions for us.
There are many questions.
Okay.
It's been a very interesting presentation and very practical, and I think that's what people are appreciating about it. So let me head straight into the questions. We only have 4 minutes for questions, so apologies if we don't get to your specific question. Those of you who are participating, just remember that you will be able to, that the question will be in the newsletter as well. So don't worry if we don't get to your question. But let me start with the first, coming from Richard. He asks, what is the current state of maturity in addressing the hacking risks associated with this soft underbelly of IoT devices, especially as backdoors to accessing corporate and home networks and data?
It's high risk, all right? So in terms of maturity, there's a lot more work that we need to do. For me, for example, with my, because I do have a smart door lock, but I do have a dumb door lock as well. So at night I will lock both locks, but during the daytime I will, trust my smart lock. So, but when you hear that though, I think there's a lot of opportunities for those who want, because of convenience, they will want to get into the technology, but those then will offer the service of securing the service.
Next similar question from Damien. What is the current state of IoT security? What are some of the threats and vulnerabilities? How are these being addressed? And how best can individuals and businesses manage IoT security?
Well, you are on the internet. So a lot of the things that would apply for when you're using mission critical applications on the internet, it's going to apply. So, I mean, the first speaker we're talking about ransomware, malware, very strong passwords. We mentioned gateways that will not necessarily put your device straight onto the internet, where you go through a gateway that you'll actually have settings as to what can actually come through the network. You might have to set up something in terms of proximity that you use some of the IoT. You have to be, but some of them you have to be physically within a certain proximity of the device and so forth. But there are best practices that you would want to put in place.
Ronaldo says, what about a digital twin?
Yes, that I should have mentioned that as a part of Industry 4.0, because what's happening with all the sensors then, you can actually, and the digital twin is not only in terms of the physical, in terms of equipment, but even for the human body to kind of study it. You get an understanding of the digital twin will actually speak to, for example, under certain conditions, how would this device, this thing, this person, this animal actually perform, and you kind of fine tune it. So that's a huge area that is kind of untapped right now.
So we have about 2 minutes left. So let me try squeeze in this last one. Damien says, in this era of increased focus on privacy with GDPR and Jamaica's DPA, what are the implications of use of services like Alexa and Siri?
Well, fortunately, I see the government, kind of clamping down on these companies. So while they should not be listening, although the machine is listening, because you can't see the machine not listening, because when you speak to the machine, it does understand you and executes on it. You should not be listening. The service itself should be totally automated and no need for humans to get involved. And because because of GDPR, the price of a breach is very high. I do believe that does dissuade them from not honoring the confidential agreement that they would have with the customers.
Thank you so much, Sheldon and Kemar, for that great presentation. Let me just leave you with this comment from Daisy. She says, NCB and the tax office need to get this if they don't have it already. And I saw some similar comments saying,
Well, we
Airbnb
have it.
people, this is for you. Mhm.
Yes, send them here.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Sheldon and Kemar.